Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Jackie, and today I'm going to teach you how to make a beautiful necklace and earring set using the Rainforest Relics collection from Bargain Bead Box. And I have decided I'm going to make a simple Hishi bead type necklace. Let me see what the stones are that I have, since I already organized them. So it's a 6 to 7 millimeter turquoise green magnesite, and then I've got 8 millimeter red agate beads. We also have some bronze bead caps, so I'm going to space them every now and then. And I think maybe I've also got some extra bronze spacer beads here, so that might look nice in between. I think I might put those on either side of the bead caps just to make them look a little bit longer. So I'm going to pull a bunch of those out. And then I'm also going to pull out these beads, the magnesite, which I love the colors on those because they're not just one solid color, you know, they vary greatly. So I like that. Okay, and then I'm gonna pull a few of the red jasper. Just gonna pull them all out. That way I can use them freely. And I'm gonna move this back so I can move everything up and be in camera. I think this is going to be a nice look. Okay, and the bead caps. So I'm probably not going to use many of these, and it's going to be a shorter choker length necklace. So if I can get enough out, I'm probably going to do 20 inches. I think that would be plenty for me. But I like that. Okay, so the clasp that came with the kit is kind of large, so you really don't want the clasp to be larger than, you know, the width of your bead strand. So I'm not too big on the very large clasp. So I'm just going to get a simple lobster claw. I've also got some of the clam crimp covers and some crimp beads. Doesn't matter what color crimp beads you use because they're not going to show anyway. And then I did a general layout here. So I'm going to move everything up so you can see it. So I just did a general layout here. I'm figuring maybe 10 beads in between each of the red agate. But I might change my mind and want it longer because, you know, they're going to be Hishi style, so they're going to be raised up, so I don't know how long that's going to be. But I did cut a length of tiger tail. I probably cut about 30 inches. I'm going to do about a 20-inch necklace. So where I'm going to start, because I want to see how many Hishi beads I need, or rondelles. So see, they're very Hishi bead like, which I like that. So I'll try to keep my hands here. So I asked Alexa about the focus, and it said on an iPhone you have the AE lock on it. However, when I went to video, I don't think it worked that well, so I don't know if I should do it in photo and, you know, lock it in and then go to video. I have no idea. So basically, I'm just stringing these on just to show, and I'm going to press this just to focus and shake my camera, of course. Okay, and then I'm going to stay low here. I can zoom in at any time. Okay, so I'm just stringing on 10. So I'm going to see what that looks like. And if I like it, if I want more, I can easily do more. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I think I'm going to string on 10 more. I actually want this to be the predominant color, so I want it to show up more, so I'm going to do 10 more. So hopefully I have enough to make a 20-inch necklace. If not, I may have to add chain to it at the end, which, as you know, that is one of my secret tricks that I like to do to extend when I need to. So I'm pretty much just starting here just to see how much I want to put on there. Okay, 20, that's a good deal. I like that. Okay, so I'm going to put a brass bead at the end. So I'm technically not starting in the middle, but, you know, I'm just checking to see what looks good and how I want to go about this. So I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and put on one of my crimp beads. Oops, need a crimp cover first. So as usual, I'll spread out my crimp cover. Run that through, add a crimp bead, and then without a lot of waste, I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to loop it through. So I'm just going to do enough to loop it through, right? Then I'm going to hold it at this end. I just need, you know, a little bit. I would say no more than 1/2 inch. Okay, I'm going to pull it just to secure it, and then I'm going to take my pliers and squish it. Now, crimp covers. I'm not exactly a fan of crimp tools. I always have a hard time getting them to fold over without breaking or getting the right size. So I find that, you know, if you loop them through and flatten them, that definitely takes care of the problem. So I'm good with that. Okay, and then I'm going to trim it close to here. Okay, it's on the very end. Oh, I also got some bronze jump rings. So just the usual things to have out when making a necklace. Try to keep in mind that, you know, it's pretty standard closures for most necklaces, you know, unless you decide to do something totally different. Okay, so I've got my crimp on, and this is where I'm going to start. Okay, so next I've got 20, and I'm going to call these Heishi beads because these are very much like Heishi beads. And so, you know, that's the Hishi bead look that I want. And now I'm going to add a bronze, a bead cap, red agate, a bead cap, and a bronze. Okay, so that's a nice look. And I'm just going to go down and put it there. Okay, I'm happy with that. It breaks it up. And this is going to be a simple necklace, so, you know, I'm just going to do the same thing over and over again till I get the length I want. And of course, doing it this way with the crimps, it allows you, so if, just in case, you can't get the necklace long enough, then we've got chain in the kit, so, you know, I can always add a length of chain to the end just to make up for what I don't have in beads. So, never hurts. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to string on 20 more of these. So I want 20 on here. I have the weirdest bug on my screen. I wish I could show it to you. It's huge. I have no idea what it is though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Let's see if it's easier just to do it this way. Let's see. They're not the easiest to string on. I suppose if you get it just right, you can kind of put it in and flip it over. Or I might have to just pick them up by hand. Okay. So I've got 5 more to go, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So I've got 20 on there. So I'm going to add bronze, a cap, a red agate. It's like this necklace, I'm going to call it Fire and Water. I think that would be appropriate because it does. It looks like fire and water. You get the fiery red and the cool blues. Okay, so here's what we're looking at, and it's going to be simple and sweet. I'm not going to add any pendants or do anything extra with it. I really just want it to be a simple Hishi bead type necklace. So I'm going to continue putting on the rest of the beads. I don't know how many I'm going to have or how long it's going to be. That's okay, because this is how you kind of design on the fly. But I'm going to go ahead and add all the beads I can, and I'll come back and we'll talk about what we have. Be right back. In order to get them even, you know, although I used 20 on each of these, I ended up having to go back and take 2 out of these, and so both of these sides will be 18. These will be 20 in between, just to get the look that I want. So apparently the strand wasn't that long, and I could have read it, but, you know, I like to design on the fly, so, you know, that way I can be more creative with it. So I'm going to have 3 of the red jaspers in between, and I am going to have to use a length of chain to get it the length I want. So I've already put on all the beads where I want them, and I'm going to add a bronze bead here. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and, as usual, open up my crimp cover. I love these crimp covers, by the way. It's a good investment. And they look neat too, so, you know, it just looks like a bead on the end. They don't look bad at all. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and bring that down. Now, I do like to coil my necklace when I put on the second one. That's just to make sure that I don't pull it too tight and it doesn't seem, you know, crooked or wonky whenever I put the jump rings on and finish it. So I'm going to go ahead and squish it really hard. And I just want to make sure everything is clamped down. And I'm going to trim it off. Simple as that. And I can use that piece for a bracelet later on or something else. Okay. And now I'm just going to close my crimp cover. Just like so. So everything is nice and even. Looks good. Tucked in deep so it doesn't poke out. Okay. So there we have it. See, it lays nicely. You know, it's not going to be bunched up or anything. And that's why I curl it before I finish it. Okay, I like that. And that'd make a good bracelet too. But I'm going to use it as a Heishi necklace. So, next thing we're going to tackle is the chain. Now, this chain is of a different length. It's almost like a paper clip, as you can see. Let me see what it's called, just to be sure. It's called a Lumatina jewelry chain. So, it's a nice chain. I like that it's got some sturdiness to it, and I like the flat weave on it. You know, and then it's just got that, you know, that paper clip design on it, which is pretty cool looking. So I don't know how much I'm going to need. So if I'm going to make a 20-inch necklace, I'm going to measure this. So let's see what we've got. I have approximately 11 inches after the jump rings are inserted. So if I'm making a 20-inch necklace, that would be 9 inches, so 4.5 inches each. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to find a 4.5 inch point. Already got one there, and I'm going to put my finger here and trim it at 4.5 inches. Okay, there's one. Then I'm going to cut another length of 4.5 inches. This is pretty easy to do. You'll kind of ruin a link, you know, it's going to come out, but that's okay. Put that back in there. Okay, now this part's going to be easy. So I'm going to get a couple of jump rings out. I don't need many. And I'm going to take a jump ring and always open it up sideways. If you need 2 pair of pliers, go ahead. I usually use my thumb, but you know, just depends on what I'm in the mood for. And then that jump ring went flying, so we're going to do another one. Okay, so I'm going to make sure this goes through the loop carefully. Use my bigger pliers just to see if I can make sure to get a good hold of it. Okay, now we're through it. Okay, so I'm going to add that to that. And always close it side to side. And use your finger, you know, if it's the least little bit raised at the top. Sorry about the camera shaking. If it's the least little bit raised at the top, just go ahead and use your needle nose pliers and just, you know, tamp it down to make sure that everything's lined up. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's closed well and no gaps. Okay. I'm happy with that, and I'm going to grab another one. Open side to side. Grab a hold of it. Wow, button. Good thing pliers make it easy to pick stuff up. Alright, so this chain may not be the easiest to get a jump ring through. And another one went flying. I'll try it again with the flat pliers and see if that helps any. Just to hold on to it. Okay. So yeah, it's got kind of a narrow opening there. So I'm going to have to finagle that in. Is what it is, but you know, I guess half the trick is holding on to the jump ring and the chain at the same time. Okay. I got it in, yay. Okay. And then, of course, on the end of this, we're going to close it like so. Oh, heard that snap. All right, you can see it's not really lined up here, so it's just where I get the needle nose out and just line it up. So, you know, I think most importantly is that everything is together and no gaps. So you might have to work with it just a little bit, but once you get it, it's good to go. Okay. And so last, I have my clasp and my jump ring on the end. So learned how to use the flat nose. And open her up. Make sure all this is good and solid. Okay. And I'm going to add my lobster claw clasp. Okay, happy with that. And a good rule of thumb, which I didn't just do and I should have, but always test your lobster claw just to make sure it'll open, because sometimes the finish makes them stick, but this one is fine. Although it was stuck just a little bit at first. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and insert this. That one went easy. Okay. Making sure everything's together. And feels good on the top. Just gonna double check it. And when you do this part, do it very gently. You don't want to distort your jump ring. Okay. So I've got my 20-inch necklace. So I think that's absolutely perfect. I love it. You know, just very simple. So I've got, you know, it looks like a Hishi necklace. You know, plus the chain. And makes it budget friendly because, you know, you don't see the beads in the back going around anyway. So, you know, it doesn't really matter. I mean, the part that matters is right here in front. So I think that works out perfectly. So I'd like to make a pair of earrings to go with this. I'm going to take a look at my findings and see what I have to make my earrings just a little bit easier. But okay, since I'm out of Hishi beads, I figured the little spiral loops would match perfectly. So I can bring the elements from here into here. And I only had a couple of bead caps left anyway. So we're all good. Okay. So I've got some 18 gauge bronze wire, or 20 gauge that I bought from Rio Grande. And so I'm going, I guess I'll cut about 4 or 5 inches just so I have plenty. And let's see, trying to do this the best way possible. I kind of want it even. You know, it's not really going to matter that much anyway. But, you know, as even as I can get it. And of course it's going to unwind. So what does that mean? It means I need to put it in a plastic bag just to keep it from unraveling. I find that with wire, when you have wire like this on a spool, if you put it in a plastic bag, then, you know, it's only going to unwind on itself and not get caught in all your other wires, because that's a pain. Okay. So I've got my round nose pliers, and I'm also going to take my wire straighteners, and I don't always run them up like this just because it kills the plastic here, but it does help to just kind of straighten it up like this by just running it up and down and turning it, and that kind of straightens up the wire pretty well. I just want it as straight as I can get it. So this helps to work with a little bit, and of course my handles are coming off as they do on most of my tools. Yeah, the tools with the rubber handles are kind of a pain. I tend to like these better, you know, with the plastic handles. They tend to last a lot longer. However, most of my tools I've probably had at least 30 years. I haven't recently purchased any new tools, so I just kind of deal with the handles the best I can. Okay, so the dangles are gonna look good, and you know, I'm just doing the red agate and then the bead caps and then the bronze beads on the side just to keep it consistent with this. So I'm gonna make kind of a large hole, I guess about halfway through, you know, until it touches the wire, just like so. And I kind of straighten with my fingers as I go. And then I'm going to bring it up like this. So what you'll see is it's going to look like this. Okay. And then I'm going to open up the loop sideways, always. I'm going to insert the pendant so it's facing the front. I want the closed part on the back. just so it's not so obvious. And then I'm going to wiggle this just a little bit closed, just to make sure that there are no gaps. And then from here, very simply, I'm going to put the bronze bead on, the bead cap, the agate, the bead cap, and this, just like so. Keeps it very simple. And then I'm going to put my thumb here where it's comfortable, and then I'm going to trim. And always do the flat part of the pliers face down so there's no burrs on it. Now, a typical earring finding is going to go this way, but I'm going to check because I didn't pull any. So I'm going to set this down. I'm going to go ahead and do this side, and I'm going to make sure it's trimmed this way so there's no burrs. I'm going to make my loop. Till it touches, and then bring it back out. Of course, there is a little bit of a gap right now, but I'm going to take care of that shortly. Okay, so I'm just going to simply add my charm. Close it up. And add the rest of my beads. I think I want a little bit redder of an agate just to match the rest of them. Okay, put my thumb here, just where it's comfortable, and trim. And then now I need some bronze earring findings. So since I forgot to pull them, I'm gonna pause here. I'll be right back once I find the earrings. Okay, be right back. Okay, so I picked a couple of your regular ear wires, and you'll notice that the loop on here goes front to back. So my wire is gonna have to be turned side to side. Now, sometimes once you got the beads on it, it's hard to do, but you just do the very best you can. You can always adjust it. So I'm gonna go fairly large on the loop, and then if I need a little bit less, then I'll be able to adjust for it. So that seemed to be perfect, actually. Okay. So see, and then I can just go in a little bit and tighten up the loop if I need to, just like that. So you don't want any gaps in it, just because, you know, the ear wire could slip out, and that's not fun when that happens. So I'm actually going to make the loop a little bit larger. Okay, and bring it down to the end and use my thumbnail. Okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, and then I'm going to flatten it out with the flat nose pliers, and I want to make sure that this is going front to back and that this is going side to side, but I also want to make sure that it's even. So that's very important. Okay, that looks good. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing for this one. So just making sure that this is pointed front to back, and this is going side to side. And I'm just going to twist and adjust till it meets right here. And then I'll take my flat nose pliers and just make sure everything's closed. And you can jiggle side to side just to make sure there are no gaps. Okay, so I'm very happy with that. Okay, looks very even. I'm happy. Okay, and last, I'm going to use the ear wire and put it on this wire. You know, sometimes just to prevent breakage. But so what I'm going to do is locate where the opening is and just do it side to side. And I'm going to insert the earring, making sure that the pendant is facing the front part of the earring. And close. Same here. So I'm going to open that up. Make sure that the pendant faces the front part of the earring. Okay. And there you have it. So alright, so finished the collection. So I have a 20-inch necklace made from magnesite and red jasper beads. And then I made a pair of earrings to go with it with the red jasper and then the little spiral pendants. And looks like they go very well together. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm hoping to be back with more soon. I'm sure there's plenty of other things I can make from this kit because it's really cute. So we're going to go from there. All right, enjoy your day and may creativity be your guide. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your comments down below. May creativity be your guide.